Scott here again in the Lifestyle Kitchen. Today we're going to make little salmon croquettes, ideal for when you've got friends around at Christmas time. They're deep fried, so just on the host responsibility side, if people have been drinking, then a wee bit of the fat will actually soak up some of the alcohol and hopefully make them not feel as crook as they could do. So what I'm going to do first is, in a fry pan, I've got some oil heating up, and I'm going to saute off some red onion. And to that red onion, we're just going to add a wee bit of garlic, either fresh or already prepared. And all we're doing here is just softening that garlic down and the onion. We don't want to colour it. So reasonably high heat. Got a tablespoon of oil. So into our other ingredients here, I've got some pre-prepared mashed potato. So basically mashed potato that I've just mashed normally, and on top of that is some Italian parsley which I've finely chopped. Now if you quite like this recipe, then a good idea would be, if you're having mashed potatoes for your normal meal, keep some of the mashed potato aside, put them in the fridge, and then you've got that ready to make your salmon croquettes. I've got one egg that I've just got ready to go, and these are some offcuts of hot smoked salmon. Now if you're not a salmon fan, then even just some smoked fish, so some smoked hoki or blue cod, whatever you like, could go into these instead. So our hot smoked salmon's going to go on top of that. My onions have softened down nicely with the garlic. So in they go. And then on top of that goes our egg. And we now want to mix all of this together. You don't want to over mix this because you don't want to break down the smoked salmon too much. Your potatoes should already be mashed, of course. And the egg's just helping to bind that together. So there is our mixture ready to go. Now what we have to do is we have to put them through a traditional crumbing process. So I've got a dish of flour, a little bowl of one egg, and around about a cup of milk whisked together, and some dried breadcrumbs, and a plate or a tray for them to go onto. So what we do now is take small quantities of our mixture, and we're just making little finger food size ones. So into the flour, coat them, which is protecting the food, into the egg wash, and then into our breadcrumbs. Now don't squeeze it or anything, because then it will just lose its shape, and you don't want to end up also with your finger marks left as a shape on it. So I'll just do, I think, 3 of these to show you. So again, into that flour mixture, shake off any excess, into the egg wash, so it's handy if you've got 2 people doing this process, because as you can see your fingers start to get quite caked on with the mixture. So someone can do the initial forming and the flour, and the second person can do the egg wash. And you could use a pair of tongs, or put gloves on. Alright, so I'll just give my hands a wash. Now these could be made ahead of time and put into the fridge, and they will firm up a wee bit, and then just cooked when you need them. So we'll bring them down to our deep fryer. Again, sitting on 180 degrees. We'll pop them in. Now with those, the ideal thing it is, everything's cooked in there. The potatoes are already cooked, the onions have been softened up so they're partially cooked, and our hot smoked salmon is edible the way it went into the mixture. So basically all we're doing is browning off the outside of the crumbs and basically reheating the potatoes. Now an ideal sauce to go with these would be a sweet chilli style, which I've got there in a little dish ready to go. We'll have a look at these and see how they're doing. So don't shake the basket around too much because they are still quite fragile in there. And you don't want to overfill your basket with the food as well, otherwise the fat may overflow or the oil may overflow, and then they start to stick together and you don't get a nice even colour. Always remember to have a tray handy with some kitchen paper to help drain them. Drain them for a few seconds here and then transfer them onto your draining paper. And then you could transfer them to your serving tray. So these again make great cocktail food, or make them a wee bit bigger and they'll be a lovely little entree. So there are our smoked salmon croquettes. Enjoy that one, and I'll see you next time in the kitchen. Welcome back to the Lifestyle Kitchen. Today I'm doing a seared salmon on blanched vegetables in a vegetable broth. This dish was inspired by a trip to a restaurant in New York called Le Boudin. Le Boudin is a seafood restaurant. It's 2 Michelin starred and basically is known for its wonderful seafood. So again, I've taken one of the dishes I had there and pared it down so you can hopefully reinterpret it yourself and try it at home. So I'm using a wonderful piece of Stewart Island salmon. So I've just cut a nice portion. If you were doing this at home, that's about the size you would want. The recipe you can get from Q will ask you for 4 portions around about 150 grams each. So we want to just season that up with a wee bit of sea salt and a wee bit of freshly ground pepper. And I've got a very hot pan sitting here ready to go, just with a wee bit of oil on the bottom. And we're going to pop that skin side up, flesh side down. And so we want to get some colour into the actual flesh of the salmon. Now for this dish, I've also got on the stove here while we're at this section is a pot of boiling water which I'm going to blanch my vegetables in, and I've also got a pot of vegetable stock on which I'm just lightly heating up. So turn that over onto the skin side. Now you could finish this completely in the fry pan, but what I like to do is place it into the oven for around about 10 minutes and it will just finish the salmon off really nicely. So because of this pan, it's all metal, I can put the whole pan straight into the oven. If you're at home and don't have a pan with a completely metal handle, just make sure you transfer it to another tray. Don't put it in the oven with a plastic handle or a wooden handle, otherwise you'll have more than seared salmon for your tea. So we'll pop that into the oven. Now with our vegetable stock here, this is a commercial stock that I've just brought. You could make your own. And what I want to do is to that, just to add a wee bit of spice to it, we're just going to add a wee bit of chilli paste. If you had some fresh chilies, you could do that as well. And that's just going to infuse a wee bit of that heat into our stock. And we'll just let that warm up. Now into my pot, this is where we're going to blanch our vegetables. And what we're using today is little cherry tomatoes, so cocktail tomatoes. I've got basically what this is called as a pak choy or a baby bok choy. So with some of your Asian greens, I've just split in half. That's going to go into our pot. And then we've got some snow peas and we've got some fresh green beans. And all we're doing is basically just blanching those in that boiling salted water. They'll stay nice and green and they'll still retain some of their crispness because most of those can be eaten in their raw state. And then we're also going to put in our tomatoes as well, and that just will warm those through. And you'll notice that I left the stalks on those. That's just going to add a wee bit of colour to the finished dish. Those vegetables don't need very long at all, especially the tomatoes, because the skins will start to blister. So when that starts to happen, we can take our tomatoes out. That's a good indication that they're just heated through. So of course, if you're blanching tomatoes, this is where you would actually take the skins off them and you would take out the seeds. Right, I can see our pak choy are nicely wilted down. Pop those out. Our last couple of tomatoes. So what is the process now is basically building up in our bowl with our vegetables. And then we'll take out the rest of our veg. So our snow peas and our beans. Take our stock, make sure that chilli is well incorporated. And of course our stock's going to reheat those vegetables if they start to cool down a wee bit. And then we can come to our salmon, and we can gently balance our salmon on top of those vegetables. And I've just got a few leaves of coriander just to add to the plate. So there we have our seared salmon in our vegetable broth with those wonderful blanched seasonal vegetables. So the pak choy, the beans and the snow peas. Please give that one a try, and I'll see you next time on the Lifestyle Kitchen.